Hey everybody, Mark from Rams up here, and I have two of my favorite guests. I have Paul Walia calling in from Long Island, New York. How you doing, Paul?
Doing great. Always happy to chat with my buddies out at the West Coast. Shout out to the Worldwide Ramley and a shout out to Blue Thunder Dodgers. Looks like they're going to bring another ring to LA. So it's going to
Yeah,
be
they're
a
looking
fun
good.
season.
The Dodgers have gotten geared up ever since I said they were in trouble.
I give
They
you all
just
the credit, Mark. I give you all the credit.
yeah,
I think it's
I'm
Joey
the
Gallo. Joey Gallo's been the difference ever since that
Joey Gallo
trade. They've been on a
from
tear.
Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, by the way. He's
yeah.
from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Joey Gallo.
And we also got Tom Courts of Rams Beat on Twitter. And Tom, you have an announcement. You are the new managing editor for Downtown Rams. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Really excited. New chapter for the site coming into the season and bring a lot of great content at downtownrams.com and as well as on the Downtown Rams Twitter as well. So really looking forward to it. We're going to do some really exciting DTR spaces on Twitter, and then those will be simulcast over to the DTR podcast as well. So looking forward to a great season and bringing some great content to all the Rams fans across the country and the world.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. Yeah, maybe we can cross promote a little bit.
Absolutely.
So, what we're going to do this episode, we are going to pick our divisional winners, our conference champions, and our Super Bowl champions as well for the 2022 season. And what we're going to do is we'll go through each division. We'll start with the AFC East and talk about each division a little bit. And actually, let's start with the AFC West so I don't get confused on my cheat sheet here. We'll start with West. And I'll go first. We'll get this rolling. I'm taking, surprise, surprise, the Los Angeles Chargers to win this division. Actually, maybe it is a surprise. This division is going to be a bloodbath. It could easily go the Chiefs' way. I have the Chargers at 13-4, and the Chiefs right behind them. I have the Raiders respectable 10-7, but like I say, it's a tough division. And I'm not buying the Broncos hype. I have them going 1-5 in their division. Again, I could have this completely upside down when all said and done, but that's my take. I'm going with the Chargers in the AFC West. What do you say, Paul?
Well, I love the AFC West. I think it's going to be absolutely must-see TV for the entire season. Love what those teams have done to put themselves in playoff contention. Now they just have to go out and execute. Obviously, all four teams are very extremely talented. You got two first-year coaches. Now, when you have such a tightly contested division, in my opinion, I think three things will decide the division. Unfortunately, in the sport of football, injuries alter the outcome of a season. Second, I think the quarterback play will make a huge difference, especially in big-time games. Third, theoretically, a 21-game season. Depth is going to be pivotal down the stretch. You put that all into consideration. I'm going to go with Kansas City to win the division. They have the coaching advantage with Reed and his experience. You got a proven winner in Mahomes, and I think they have depth at key positions when you look at that roster. So I'm going to go with KC.
Okay. How about you, Tom? Who you got?
Yeah, I'm with you, Mark. I like the Chargers this year in that division. I think that Staley going into a second year, I mean, he really stuck with his defensive philosophy last year, and to get that installed, that obviously was led the Rams to the number one defense the prior year. And he did it on, even though he didn't have the personnel, like he could have easily ran a defensive scheme that favored his personnel that he had there, but he didn't. He went with his scheme with people that didn't work, and it showed. Right, they were last or second to last against the run. They gave up a lot of points. That was one of the reasons that he went for it so many times on fourth down. That angered a lot of his fans, but just the numbers show that, hey, when you can't stop somebody, you got to try and let your offense do it. So that this year, on the other hand, he's brought in a ton of talent in both the secondary and the defensive line, and he's really he's got his personnel in place now that he can run his scheme with the right people. That offense was high flying last year, and just another year with that offense together, and Herbert there will. I think they're going to have a great year. I got them going 12-5 to win the division. We'll talk more about what teams are going to, who else is going to make it there, but also like Kansas City there and potentially even Las Vegas to sneak into that playoff picture.
Still sounds weird saying Las Vegas to me.
Yeah.
And I should clarify, I meant to talk about this before we get started. I don't know how you guys went about this. You saw the pick sheet I sent you, and that's what I did. I went game by game. I know a lot of people, when they pick divisions, they go like, the Bengals are the best team. I'm taking the Bengals. And schedule is so important in a lot of these divisions. So that's why I went through every game and picked a winner, for better or worse. That was my approach, and just wanted to share that with everybody. There's too many. Go ahead.
No, on that note, I just want to make the point. That was a big influencing factor for me as well. As we know, every team in each division plays the same exact schedule, with the exception of 3 games, and which are based upon how you finished in the season before. The Kansas City games that are different from their division are at Tampa Bay, home against Buffalo, and at Cincinnati. So let that sink in.
Yeah,
Tampa Bay, Buffalo, at Tampa Bay, at Cincinnati, and home against Buffalo.
Right.
The Chargers, on the other hand, are Cleveland, Atlanta, and Miami.
Yeah.
So there's 3 games right there that could really swing the division. And I think in highly contested, close divisional match or races, those 3 games can oftentimes be the difference. And we'll see that. We'll see that in some of the other divisions that we discuss as well.
Yeah, that's a problem the Rams are going to face too, I think.
Exactly.
Right. And that's what I did. I looked at the last 6 games of the season. When you're comparing the various teams, if you say you have 3 teams that are very close together, I look at the last 6 games of the season, right down the stretch, who has the advantage, because we know a 1-game swing could decide the division or decide the wild card. We saw that last year as well. So, yeah, absolutely. Strength of schedule, although it's only differentiated by 3 games, when you break it down into sort of thirds of the season, becomes very significant.
Let's just go in the same order to keep it simple, if you guys are okay with that.
Sure.
We'll jump into the AFC North, and I have the Ravens winning this, the best regular season team in the league. I have the Ravens coming out on top. I think that obviously the Bengals are going to be right there, and the Steelers. There's some hope in Steelerville, right, with that young quarterback, and they always seem to come through. They always seem to be competitive, but I'm going with the Ravens with the regular season title in the AFC North. And I just think the Browns, I don't know, they seem to be doomed every season for one reason or another, and I don't see them being a factor at all. Paul, you got who you got in the AFC North?
Well, in the AFC North, I think it's the new black and blue division of the NFL. Love the competitive teams in this division. Next to the AFC West, I think it's the toughest division to call. I always want to start out by shouting out Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, who I think is one of the greatest coaches in the NFL. And he's put together another incredible coaching staff, especially on the defensive side of the ball. If there's any one quarterback, since you brought up quarterback, that can play around the quarterback position, it would be Tomlin. So for you fans in Pittsburgh, get those terrible towels ready. I think they're going to go back to what they do best, running the football with Najee, playing defense. And having said that, though, I think the division is going to go down to Lamar Jackson. I think in a couple of years, when people look back at the Ravens, they're going to kick themselves for why they did not open up the offense a little bit. They got a Ferrari back there, and they are driving it like it's an economy car. I think he's going to have another monster year. I think the Ravens are going to play their traditional solid defense. I think Harbaugh is a very underrated coach. He's going to have this team competitive. They're going to go neck and neck down the stretch. But I just think Lamar Jackson is going to be the difference down the stretch, and I'm picking the Ravens to win the division by half a game.
Nice. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, I like the Ravens. I like the Ravens also to win the division. I think that Pittsburgh's going to have a kind of a rebuild year, if you will. I mean, not in the traditional sense, but for them, reestablish themselves. They got the quarterback situation, a bunch of new pieces. as well. And so, they'll probably be at or around 500. But, if history is right, maybe a 9-8 year, something like that. Cleveland has its issues. Don't really want to get into all that. But pick them to come in last in the division. But Baltimore, ekes it out again. I think this is going to come down to those 3 games. It's going to be between them and Cincinnati. I like actually Cincinnati as a football team better. I like them head-to-head against Baltimore and head-to-head against other teams in the league more than I do Baltimore. But again, it comes down to these 3 games. Baltimore has the Giants, Jacksonville, and Denver at home. Cincinnati has at Dallas, at Tennessee, and Kansas City at home. Those are the 3 game differences. Huge difference again in this division in that regard. That's why I give Baltimore the nod over the Bengals.
Not to worry, Steeler faithful. Tomlin keeps his record intact. Will not have a losing season.
This really surprised me. I thought you guys would both be all over the Bengals, but that's fine. We're all in agreement there. So we have 2 of us taking the Chargers, all 3 of us taking the Ravens. Move on to the AFC South. And I see Colts coming away with the divisional title. I think Matt Ryan is going to have a new life there, going to really help that team out. I think that's what they've been missing, is just solid quarterback play, and I think Ryan brings that. Titans are going to be good. They're always going to be there, but I have them coming in second. And the Jags, I think they're an improved team, but they're not ready for prime time. And I'm taking the Colts hands down in that division.
Yeah, I think the AFC South, I think it's clearly a 2-team race between Indy and Tennessee. I think Indy played the smart move. They improved themselves at quarterback. When you look at the AFC and the NFC teams, largely you see the AFC teams have largely invested in young quarterbacks, let them develop over time. You see that with Mahomes, Herbert, Allen, Lamar Jackson. And if you look at the NFC, the major players apart from Green Bay, like the Rams and Tampa Bay, they brought in veteran guys. So Indy went more the latter route. They brought in Matt Ryan. Denver, you saw they did the same thing with their quarterback situation. They brought in a proven winner. So I think Indy definitely made the right move. They have a sledgehammer ground game with Taylor. Now they're going to have a more efficient air attack with Matty Ice, which is going to make them more explosive. I think they have the most underrated defense in the AFC. They never talk about Indy's defense, which I think is fantastic. And I think they have enough in terms of wide receiver talent to make some noise. I especially like Alec Pierce. So I'm picking them to win the AFC South.
Okay, Tom, your turn. You're going to go with someone different? You got the Titans or the Colts, basically, right?
I'm going to stick with the Colts, yeah. I do. I think it's another neck-and-neck race. Unlike some of the other divisions, it's very top-heavy and bottom-heavy. Jacksonville and Houston are still working their rosters out. Looking good for the future, but they're certainly not ready to compete yet. Again, I think I'm just going to stick to my theme that when it comes down to 2 teams that are very evenly matched, contending for the division championship, it can come down to these 3 games, and I'm going to give you these 3 games again, like I did before. Indy has New England, Pittsburgh, and Minnesota. So not super easy, but easy, much easier than what Tennessee has. At Buffalo, at Green Bay, and against Cincinnati. So 3 big differences in those games versus the what Indy has. Tennessee takes a step back. They struggle in those 3 games that I just mentioned, and fare relatively similarly against the same schedule that Indy plays. But those 3 games will make the difference. Indy pulls it out by a game or so and wins the division.
Yeah, I meant to mention, I think the Texans will be better than people. And I also, one comment on the Titans. I've always just felt like the Titans have a formula for success, and it's very specific. And if things don't go their way, if things get a little sideways, they just can't find other ways to win. If Derrick Henry gets banged up, they turn the ball over a couple of times, they're in trouble. And that's why I just don't bet on the Titans very often. But they're very well coached, solid roster, not taking anything away from them. Okay, on to the AFC East. And this was, I don't know how much we need to talk about this division. I'm going with the Bills in a runaway. I think the Dolphins are still going to have issues at quarterback. The Jets seem to be jinxed. They already have some injury issues going on there. Not sure when their quarterback's going to be back. I don't know. I see the Bills taking this division pretty easily. They could have it sealed up by week 15 or so.
Yeah, I think Buffalo is definitely the class of the division. No question about it. They're just too talented, too deep, both sides of the ball. I'm picking Buffalo in the East. I especially like what they've done in terms of like signing guys like Settle, drafting Cook at running back. That awareness to understand to build depth, I think is going to help them through the season. And I just love Coach McDermott. I think he's a rock solid coach. I think he's going to have them ready every week. So I think they're going to run away with the division.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the Patriots. I was scratching my head. Who am I leaving out here? And, Bill's going to find a way for them to be relevant, but yeah, they're not going to challenge the Bills this year around. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, obviously Buffalo went a runaway there, and they could have this thing sewn up by 3-4 games left, in my opinion. Very solid team all the way around, and obviously we get to see them a week from Thursday, so that'll be exciting. The Dolphins, I think, are going to they have so many new pieces. In terms of weapons and in terms of offensive line, in terms of coaching. And it's very rare that teams come, in that situation in their first year and gel and really compete. So I think they'll do well. They might challenge for a wild card, but they're not going to certainly challenge for that division at all. So Buffalo in a runaway with Miami, the best of the rest.
Yeah, interesting. We agreed on everything except the AFC West, where Paul went rogue on us and picked the Chiefs. That's not really much of a stretch, though. Picking the Chiefs to win the AFC West, not a long shot at all. And then Paul and I both picked.
But I did keep it in the Ramley when we talk about wild cards. Hint, hint.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So for wild cards in the AFC East, who do we got here? I had my 3 wild cards were the Bengals, Chiefs, and Titans. Kind of going chalk here. A lot of people are going to say, like, hey, really going out on a limb there, Mark. But it is what it is. I think that those are my 3 wild cards, the Bengals, Chiefs, and Titans. How about you, Paul?
The Broncos have a brutal schedule down the stretch. They have the Ravens, the Chiefs twice, the Rams, and they have the Chargers. I'm taking the Chargers in the West. I think they have the best mix of coaching, quarterback, and depth. So I think they exercise their demons. They pull out a wild card berth. In the South, I think there are better teams out there. I agree with you, Mark. But listen, to get into the playoffs, you have to have more wins than the next guy. And if you look at that schedule, the Titans schedule down the stretch, they play the Jaguars twice, the Texans, and then they get the Cowboys at home. I think that's going to be the difference. I think they pull out the wild card by the narrowest of margins. And then my last one, keeping it in the Ramley, my buddy Zach, Bengals win a wild card spot. They edge out the Steelers last week of the season. The Bengals are the 3rd. I think they've done enough, especially on the offensive line. And I think they've done enough to make themselves competitive again. I think Zach is just one of the better coaches out there. I think they're going to use Mixon a lot more this year. And I love that combination of Burrow and that wide receiver trio. I'm picking the Bengals to take one of the wild card spots.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that last 5 games for the Titans. I meant to mention that I had them winning their last 5 games. They get the Jags twice and the Texans, as you mentioned, and I had them picking up wins against the Chargers and Cowboys as well. Okay, how about you, Tom? Who are your wild cards?
Yeah,
throw us a surprise team. Mix it up.
Okay, I have a surprise team. I'm going to
keep it Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm going to go kind of chalk with Cincinnati. and Kansas City. We kind of talked about them, and two teams that I think are as good as the teams that I had picked to win the division. But as I had mentioned, those 3 games kind of tilted the difference there. But so Cincinnati and Kansas City for sure are in, and my long shot to make the playoffs is the Las Vegas Raiders. So
yeah, and that's not a stretch either, though, right? Their roster is really solid at this point.
Yeah, they're not picked to do us because that's such a tough division, obviously. And then they have a tough schedule all the way through. Obviously, play the Nfc West, Afc South. So it's a tough road. They play at New Orleans, at Pittsburgh, as well as against New England in the 3 games difference, the 3 different games. So, but anyway, no, I just like their roster. I like what they've done. I like the new coaching staff. I think everybody's just gonna get re-energized on that team. I mean, the fact that they could do what they did last year with all that adversity and all that chaos is Carr just sort of keeping them together. Really became a real leader of that team, and so I think anyway, I have a lot of confidence in them. I'm rooting for them to put it all together and see them making the wild card.
So Tom is rolling the dice in Las Vegas. Look at that.
That's it.
Well played. I will say this. One thing I did like, I love the moves with Jones and Devontae Adams. I think, particularly with Adams and Carr now and that running back stable, they have, some quality veteran leadership. Chandler Jones on the other side was a nice move with Max Corby. I think that's going to work out really well. I think the one differential for me was when you look at that roster is the depth, particularly on the O-line. And as those injuries mount, I think that's going to be the undoing for the Raiders, and particularly in those close games. I'm also not a big Josh McDaniels fan when it comes to being a head coach. So I think those two together. But I agree with you. If there's anybody to roll the dice with, the Raiders, they have a lot of that character aspect of it. I think that's really attractive for a long haul season. So, yeah, good play.
And they have 2 games at SoFi, which is that correct? I think they do, don't they? Do they play maybe it's just the one at the Chargers? But that's going to be kind of like a home game for them, right? So that's to their advantage too. I mentioned at one of my a Raider Charger game at SoFi. I wouldn't want to be there. Let's just say that. Okay, so as far as the AFC Championship, surprise, I have the Bills beating the Chargers in the title game and advancing to the Super Bowl. That game would be played in Buffalo per my bracket, and I just don't have a good feeling if the Chargers get to the AFC Championship game in Buffalo in January that's going to end well for them.
2 great minds think alike. Same thing. I think they take advantage of probably the greatest home field advantage in the AFC, even trumping Denver. And I think that is the difference. They make it to the big show, Buffalo.
Yeah, in the championship game, I'm going to go with Buffalo over Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati makes another run in the playoffs, but doesn't quite get there. They get back to the championship game, but Buffalo gets them. And I really like Cincinnati. I think they're going to put it together, and obviously they got to stay healthy. That new offensive line's got to take time to gel. They're going to put on a really strong run at the end of the year, and they get at the end of the year Cleveland, New England. They get Buffalo at home and Baltimore at home. So really like Cincinnati to make a run in the playoffs, but Buffalo ultimately wins the AFC Championship.
Okay, well, we've decided it here. It's a foregone conclusion. Buffalo to the Super Bowl. Let's figure out who they're going to be playing. We'll save the NFC West for last. How about that? Let's go to the NFC East, and I really think it's a 2-team race here as well. Cowboys already lost their starting left tackle, right? He may be back by the end of the year. I don't like their offense, their weapons, aside from CeeDee Lamb. Not thrilled with their offensive attack, the weapons they have. But I'm really feeling it for the Eagles, and I'm kind of jumping on the bandwagon. A lot of people, everybody's picking the Eagles, and I am too. I'm taking the Eagles in the NFC East.
Right. I think sometimes, it is what it is. And when something looks a certain way, it just is. Right. When you look at this division, one team jumps off the paper, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. They have the easiest schedule in the league on paper. But Jalen, he's going to be a fantasy monster this year. I just love that kid. He's electric. I think the Eagles are a well-rounded team. I think that's the difference. And I like the job Sirianni has done. Great job, week in, week out, gets this team ready to play. I think the Eagles run away with that division. The Cowboys, too many question marks. They lost Teron Smith for most of the year. I think he's out for the first, 11 to 12 games.
Right.
But more importantly, McCarthy is not the answer in Dallas. And I think they should have really moved on. But I just think they're going to come up short. I think the Eagles run away with it.
Okay. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, also, I'm on the Eagles bandwagon for sure. Love what they've done. I think they put it together, in this year. And Jalen has a huge year. I also am equally down on Dallas. Not only is their roster not as good as it has been, they lost a lot of weapons. They obviously have had their injuries, but most importantly, that front office, ownership, front office, and coaching staff is a disaster. And I think it's a dumpster fire. It's even the Cowboy fans, who are typically optimistic fans, know it, and it's going to blow up this year. McCarthy should have been let go maybe after last year. There's a lot of issues with Kellen Moore being Jerry Jones's guy. McCarthy can't even choose his own coordinators. Dan Quinn is reasserting himself, and it's a mess. And it's going to show through, especially with their less talent that they have ever had really in the last several seasons. So Dallas is going to crash and burn. Philly runs away with that division.
All in agreement. 3 votes for the Eagles, and we'll move on to the NFC. The NFC North, and this is where I may have a surprise for you. I'm kind of all in on the Vikings, and maybe I'm just trying to be contrarian here, but I'm taking the Vikings to win that division. I see it extremely close, maybe even a tiebreaker situation. If they can stay healthy on offense, the new coach there, if he's the offensive guru, I think he might be. Their defense has been lacking the last few years, obviously. But I'm taking the Vikings. Packers will be there, obviously. But I still like the Lions. I think the Lions are going to be a surprise team this year. They are going to be relevant for sure, I think. That coach still cracks me up. I watched some of the the HBO show Hard Knocks, and sometimes it's like, oh, this guy's too much. And then other times I'm like, I love this guy. I love his approach. But I think the Lions are going to be okay. I love their Hutchinson, the defensive end. I think he's going to be a rock star. But all said and done, taking the Vikings to edge the Packers in the NFC North. And you can both start telling me how wrong I am. You can go first, Paul.
You're never wrong for keeping it in the Ramley. You're never wrong for doing that, okay? So, to me, the NFC North, I think it's more a one-horse race. I like the Packers. I think they're going to win that division outright. Their schedule, middle of the pack. They have a well-constructed roster. They have good depth. They have Aaron Rodgers, rock-solid running game with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. And I also think they have the best home field advantage in the NFC, particularly when it starts to get cold out there. So, but the division sleeper team of the NFC, I definitely think, is the Minnesota Vikings. I think McConnell does the best coaching job, pound for pound, in the NFC, and gets that team competitive. And I have them as my sleeper team in the NFC. Just to be,
Are you just saying that to make me feel better?
I kept it in the Ramley. Look at that. You got
there you go.
ANC, you got McConnell out here, and you got
and remember, according to Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in the league. So they do have that.
He's the best wide receiver to watch the Super Bowl on TV in the league. Absolutely.
Right. I'm joking, but I mean, he is pretty darn good.
All right. But you can't watch the Super Bowl on TV and then call yourself out as the best.
Right.
I think that's how the NFL has changed nowadays. That would never have happened, but that's okay.
How about you, Tom?
Yeah, I'm all in on Minnesota.
Are you?
Have been from the beginning. Yep, absolutely. I think Green Bay takes a step back, and they lost their weapons. I think unless they sign a true number one, just not seeing it. And so, in terms of receiver, so I think they take a step back. Again, I think that we're talking about Kevin O'Connell going over there. He's going to do a fantastic job with them. Really going to change the culture in much the same way that Zach Taylor did at Cincinnati. He's going to get the best out of their entire roster. And Kirk Cousins for sure. I think he's going to be a different guy. He played under some severe adversity with just not getting along with Zimmer at all. And so I love Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. Just go down the list. Dalvin Cook. They just have weapons all over the place, and really like really like the team, really like the roster. Really like the coaching staff now, and look for them to really be the surprise team in the NFC overall. So, really look for it. Then if you look at the schedule situation with them, it favors them as well. Their 3-game differences are they get New Orleans, Arizona, and Indianapolis. Green Bay gets Tampa Bay, Tennessee, and the Rams. So pretty big differences there. And so Minnesota edges out Green Bay.
Yeah, and I thought I was just being a little bit different here, picking the Vikings. So I guess not.
I think McConnell, if you look at rosters that match what a coach wants to do and plays to a coach's strength, take a look at the Vikings on the offensive side of the ball and McConnell's talents, right? The only question mark with the Vikings is on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, if McConnell gets them to play up to their ability, they lost a couple of games last year where they shot themselves in the foot, literally. If he gets them to play up to that potential consistently, to their offensive potential, they're going to be at least 3 games better this season, minimum.
Is that Cooper I hear joining the chat?
Yeah, Cooper Pup. Yeah,
right.
He wants to join in the. So let's just to clarify, let's not get O'Connell, Kevin O'Connell mixed up with anybody named Mick Connell. Who there's a few guys out there who probably don't. So anyway, Kevin O'Connell, not Mick Connell.
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking about somebody else. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's Kevin O'Connell. You notice Cooper Pup started growling when someone commented about Justin Jefferson's comments. Just want to throw that out there.
That's right. Or when somebody mentioned McConnell, I'm not sure.
Yeah, his ears perked up. Okay, the NFC South, an interesting division. I'm running with the Bucs. I'll just come out right out and say that. I do think the Bucs could have some issues with the line. I think they already are. So I'm going with the Bucs, but with some trepidation. I just don't think there's a lot of competition there. I don't like the Saints quarterback. The Falcons, I think, had a very good draft, but they're a year or two away. And the Panthers actually will be very competitive as well, I think. But they're not going to threaten here. It's going to be the Bucs in this division. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I think it's in the South. I think the Buccaneers just perennially they take that division. Brady, host of other veterans, they know how to win. Rock solid roster from top to bottom. Also, one of the easy schedules in the NFL every year. I don't know how they pull it off.
Yeah.
I think the Saints are going to be tougher than people think, but I just think Tampa Bay has too much firepower and too much in terms of they know how to win. They have the proven veterans on the roster at the key positions, so I think that makes a difference.
How about you, Tom? Who you got?
Yeah, Tampa Bay in a runaway. This is a similar for me to the
NFC East.
No,
AFC East. I mean,
to the AFC East. Yeah, it's kind of a one-team race. I'm not in on the New Orleans Saints. A lot of people are. It's one of the harder teams to sort of handicap. I think there's a lot of people who think they're going to win the division. I'm on the other side. I think they're going to be mediocre, and just not a Jameis Winston believer yet. So Tampa Bay with a runaway, and then Carolina, Atlanta, sort of getting their feet under them after coming off a couple of tough years, and New Orleans, sort of in that 500-ish range.
Okay, so who we got here? We got the NFC West left. Somehow this is going to be fun. I know a lot of people, I've seen, I think it was Sports Illustrated picked the 49ers, and someone texted me. I think they were trying to just get me riled. And I said, I get it. I get the 49ers winning this division based on schedule alone, but I'm not picking the 49ers. I'm picking the Rams. I think Sean McVay and company finds a way to win this division. Yeah, it's an extremely tough schedule. They're just going to take them one at a time. And, no one wants to play the Rams either. So you got to look at it that way. Rams will be fine. I think, if they come out with a win against the Bills, that's going to be really big. That'd be a big win for them to get rolling, and then they get Atlanta the following week, get out of the gate 2-0 probably. Just split with the Niners one season and they'll be fine. Just so much talent on this roster, so much leadership. And like I've told you guys before, I have never not picked the Rams. So it's the Rams.
I don't know. If you look at background, you could sort of tell which way I'm going to go, but we'll go through the division anyway. In the West, Seattle's reeling on the quarterback situation. And just like you, I've seen people picking Arizona to win the division, which I think that team is drastically overrated. I do like what the Niners have done with Trey Lance. I definitely think he deserves a shot at the quarterback position. They're going to have their year in, year out, solid defense, traditional running game, well-coached team. I think that's going to keep them in the mix. Rams have the toughest schedule in the league on paper, and I actually think that might work in their favor. McVay has been upset all year. He does not want his team coming into the season with the Super Bowl doldrums. I think it's going to be a tough season, but I think they have enough in terms of offensive firepower. They have key defensive players that are veterans. They have a great coaching staff, and I think that's going to be the difference. I think they win the division. And who is America's team? Take a look at my background.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. Okay, so we got two of us in the Rams column. Where are you going, Tom? Who you got in the NFC West?
Well, I have the Rams as the best team in the NFC West, but I do have San Francisco winning the division. I think the roster.
Oh, hey, it's been nice of you to join us today, Tom. And
well, let's hold off judgment until we get to our championship picks. So I just think the roster. The schedule differential is so significant. I do think
you're right.
The Rams, I mean, if I'm being consistent here, the Rams and San Francisco are going to vie for the division, taking a huge leap of faith that Trey Lance is going to be the guy that they think he's going to be, and to be fair to 49er fans, they're pretty consistent. They don't think he's going to be Mahomes. They think that, if he can be a good, solid, middle-tier quarterback, get some easy completions that Shanahan will set him up for, extend some of those plays with his feet, stay away from the turnovers. I think he'll do well, and they have a loaded roster as long as they stay healthy. A few issues on that offensive line that they'll get shored up, as Shanahan usually does. But but the big thing is that they play. I mean, there are 3 games: are Chicago, Miami, and Washington. Rams 3 games are Dallas, Green Bay, and Buffalo. So big difference in the games that they play, and so the 3 games differential. So if I'm being consistent in a competitive division, the team with the easier 3 games, so in this case San Francisco has much easier 3 games. I'll take San Francisco to edge out the Rams in the division.
And that's actually the 3rd place schedule they have, right?
Yeah, and that's the San Francisco got the 3rd place.
Right. Schedule. No, I understand that. Fair enough. I think it really comes down to their quarterback play, and I think The one thing I'd worry about the 49ers, you want Trey Lance to be dynamic and extend plays and do all those things. And that's the thing that can lead to a lot of turnovers as well, though. So I'll be pulling for that. Let's just say that.
Yeah, definitely not rooting for the 49ers to win the division, to be right. I'll be happy if I'm wrong.
Yeah, there you go. So my wild cards, I picked the Vikings to win the NFC North. I'm picking the Packers to grab a wild card. And I still think the Cowboys are going to be good enough to get a wild card. And I actually have the Lions sneaking in. And I went back and looked, and I said, do I really think the Lions are going to win that many games? But you look at their schedule. I have them beating the Eagles in the opener, which may be a little bit of a stretch. A team I have winning that division. And look at the schedule. Can they beat the Commanders, the Seahawks, the Dolphins, the Bears, the Giants, the Jags? Can they beat the Vikings once? Can they beat the Jets and beat the Bears again and the Panthers? Yeah, they're probably not going to win all those games, but there's a lot of W's waiting out there for them to take. And I'm wrong on this, but that's what I'm rolling with. I like I said, I filled out the sheet game by game, and that's what I came up with. And I had the 49ers missing the playoffs, and I'm probably being a little biased, kind of rooting for them to lose certain games, and that's what I clicked on. I don't really feel comfortable with this scenario, but I don't think it's going to end up matter when it gets to that NFC Championship game. Packers, Cowboys, Lions. Those are my wild cards.
Wow. We had two gambling men online today. All right, awesome. So I think the NFC East is only going to have one playoff contestant. I think that's going to be the Eagles. I am picking Kevin O'Connell. Right there, Tom. Right? So I'm going to pick our buddy, keep it in the Ramley. Right? I think Coach O'Connell is going to do a great job. I think Cousins, he's going to get the most out of him. But I do think the following season, I think they go out quarterback hunting. No question about it. They bring in a different quarterback. So I'm going to go with Minnesota. I'm going to go with the Niners. In the NFL, it has been proven for decades. If you run the ball and play solid defense, you're going to be in the hunt. So, and I think Trey Lance is going to be good enough for them to get over the hump. I think they get one playoff spot, and then I'm picking the Saints to surprise and grab the third slot.
Okay, so we're kind of matching up pretty well, except you're going with the 49ers and the Saints, and I'm going with the Lions and the Cowboys, right? You didn't pick the Cowboys, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely not. Okay, that's fine. And okay, who you got as your wild cards, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, so I picked Minnesota to win that division. So Green Bay definitely is going to be right there. I picked the Niners to win the West, and so the Rams are going to be, right there with a wild card. So two pretty easy picks there. This is the hardest thing. This is the hardest pick of this entire exercise is who's the third wild card team, in the NFC. And Dallas, I think, is a dumpster fire. They don't come close. I'm with Paul on that one. I don't feel New Orleans. I think they're a 500 team, although 500 might be that third wild card. So who is it? Is it there's always Dallas. Is it New
Arizona?
Orleans? Is it Arizona? Again, I'm not a believer in Arizona. I look at where I put everybody's schedules or everybody's records, as I did the same thing you guys did, which is go through all the games, and I just don't see it for any of those teams. I mean, is it a sneaky pick like Detroit, maybe Washington, between
Carolina?
Those two? Yeah, I'm not feeling Carolina. So I came to the conclusion independently, but prior to this conversation, I also picked Detroit to sneak.
Oh,
in.
there you go.
Oh, Lions resurgence.
Yeah, I had three teams from the NFC North, and that's what I did too.
And it could be in that 9 and 8. That's how bad the NFC is. compared to the AFC.
Yeah, and to be clear on this, I didn't try to figure out tiebreakers, and there were a lot of ties in my standings, and I just kind of went with the team that I thought was a shade better.
Yeah,
And that's how the Lions got in. Well, actually, I don't even. Maybe I just picked the Lions because I'm pulling for Jared Goff a little bit.
Yeah, they're to me they're next year's Eagles. Sort of sneak into the playoffs but have no hope of doing any damage. So
Lions Resurgence. Look at that. Let's throw out some Lion names, right? For the Lion fans. What's his name? Bobby Lane, Billy Sims, Barry Sanders, Eric Hipple. Any other obscure Detroit names you want to throw, except for Barry Sanders, of course.
Yeah.
I saw Herman Moore's name show up on the list
Moore,
the other day.
Megatron. You got Megatron, right?
Jared Goff.
Yeah. And remember, Optimus 9, he came from Detroit. So there it is.
Yeah. So that's really a default. I'm not a huge on Detroit. That's sort of, just by process of elimination here. It's just
I think like they said in your Twitter space the other day, the NFC playoff path once you get in is not nearly as daunting as the AFC, because there's going to be a couple of teams in the NFC playoffs. I mean, it's a long season, but right now it would appear that there will be a couple of, I would call them pushovers in the NFC playoffs, but certainly teams you're not really that scared of, and you're probably going to get them at home as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
don't forget the Eagles run with Nick Foles, right?
Oh,
that
right.
was about as improbable as it gets. So you're right about that. You just have to get in to win it, right?
Yeah, and historically, I hate to bring this up, but the Eagles are one team that has kind of had the Rams number over the years. If you look at I don't have it in front of me, but that's one team that you'd be surprised to see. I would say they've dominated the Rams, but they have a clear edge. There is the one exception. I think the Donovan McNabb years, I think we beat them in the playoffs once. But, I remember them coming to L.A. In the Jeff Fisher years when they had Chris Long and they beat us. We've had a lot of bad games against the Eagles. So I would not be.
I think of the Eagles, you know who I think of? Wilbert Montgomery, Harold Carmichael.
Yeah.
Right? Ron Jaworski.
Right. The Polish rifle.
Yes, classic Eagles. And he played for the Rams a little bit too. Jaws played for the Rams a little bit.
He did.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the NFC Conference Championship, I have Minnesota, or actually, where was this game? I don't remember where I had this game. I think it was, they probably had the same record, so I'm not sure where this game would be played at. Rams, Vikings, and I have the Rams winning that game, advancing to the Super Bowl against the Bills, and we'll just roll right into the Super Bowl. I have the Rams beating the Bills in a rematch of opening day. So the Rams beat the Vikings and then beat the Bills in the Super Bowl in Arizona. How about you, Paul? What's your final word on this subject?
I have the Rams beating Green Bay in the championship in one of the best games of the season, and then going and playing Buffalo in the Super Bowl, and the Rams winning the Super Bowl once again. They run it back, and they beat Buffalo.
Nice. And by the way, that was my pick last year, Rams Bills. So I got half of it right. Where do you know your breakout with that Ram Packer game? Where would that be played, or do you?
So because of the Rams schedule and because of the Green Bay schedule, right? I gave Green Bay the edge. The Rams exercise their demons. They go into the cold and they win a high. It's just like the Niner game all over again. They come out, a hard-fought game. They win on a Matt Gay field goal.
Yeah, and I feel a lot better about Matthew Stafford playing in 10 degrees than Jared Goff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Tom, you have the 49ers winning the Super Bowl, I assume?
Yeah, 49ers all the way. I know, I'm kidding. No, I have the Rams playing at Philadelphia in the championship game. I think Philly runs away with that division, has a great schedule, great record, number one seed, and takes care of business in the playoffs. and gets whoever that the Detroit team gets a bye, gets the Detroit team, gets a something like that. We'll see how it pans out. But I have them going playing all the way through the playoffs at home. They host the Rams and lose in a nail biter, and Jalen Hurts finally starts throwing some picks under pressure, and I have Darian Kendrick returning a pick six to seal it in the championship
really getting into
game.
the weeds here, huh?
To go to, and I love that guy. I just had to get his name in the podcast, and by then I think he's going to be clearly starting on this team. And then the Rams and the Bills in the Super Bowl. Another great Super Bowl, very close to the Rams coming out on top. So we all agree on that.
So we all had the Super Bowls lined up perfectly. I think I was surprised. My one takeaway is the universal love for the Vikings, and more than one person picking the Lions to make some noise. We all feel pretty good about the Eagles. A lot of agreement. I guess that's to be expected. We kind of all think alike on these matters, right?
Yeah. And I think, what's impressive, if you look at it, and not just our picks, but at the NFL in general, Thomas, O'Connell, Staley, right? Talk about the Ramley connections.
LaFleur.
Very, very strong. It's only going to get deeper moving forward. So
yeah,
kudos to McVay and the job that the Rams organization and what they've done.
Yeah. Any final words for you, Tom, before we wrap this up with our 2022 season predictions?
No, I think it's going to be it'll be a fun year. I think the increased interaction of fans, especially on Twitter Spaces and the like, where people can get together and have conversations, in real time is going to be make it a lot more exciting. And look forward to being a big part of that again with the DTR Spaces that for the Rams fans, and really trying to lead that charge and coalesce some Rams in some really good open mic conversations and so forth. So really looking forward to the season, and a lot of competitive balance here, especially in the AFC. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be fun, and that opener for the Rams is going to be so important. They get a home win against the Bills, one of their toughest games. That'll be big. So, hey, we'll sign off here. I really appreciate you guys joining me. This has been great. I'll close out this content. You guys want to stick around and chat a little bit more about some upcoming things we can do, that's fine. But other than that, out here from Rams Up, and thank you, Paul and Tom. I really appreciate it.
Rams up.
All right, we'll see you guys.